I made over $100,000 from this one simple 12-minute YouTube video. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I was able to do that. And more importantly, how you can do so within your agency as well. So with that being said, this is the video right here. It is a 12-minute and 21-second long video titled How I Actually Get High Quality Real Estate Leads. And as you can see, it doesn't have a ton of views, 3.8K views. Keep in mind, when it comes to YouTube AdSense, they might pay 30 to 50 bucks for that, but that's not how I made the money. The money was made from sales within my agency. Now, for those of you wondering, right, this video, how it was structured was essentially as a VSL, right? So video sales letter. Now, most of you are familiar with what that is. It's essentially a video to sell someone on your service, right? But it's not like most people do VSLs. And what I mean by that is most people's VSLs, right? Most agency owners, it's very fluff focused, right? All it does is maybe just show a bunch of social proof, right? Which is good. Hype, right? And then gatekeeping for sales call. Okay, mind my handwriting. But essentially, this is what most people's VSLs look like, right? It's a lot of fluff. They do have some social proof, a lot of hype, but then in all honesty, there's no real value provided. And a lot of it is just gate kept for the sales call. People don't really know the system, right? You kind of hype it up, you kind of talk about it, and then get them to book. That is not what this video was. And if I structured it like this, in all honesty, it wouldn't have gotten nearly anywhere close to the same results as it did. And as you can see right here, right, this kind of just goes to show these were the comments on the video. And keep in mind, this video is still live. So at the time that I'm filming this, you can just look this up, go to my channel, watch it, check the comments as well, because then you'll see all of these, right? Awesome video. You answered questions I had for years. This is amazing. This is a game changer. God bless you for sharing this, man. Insane value. Amazing video, James. Very generous, James. Thank you for sharing. You kind of get the point. And keep in mind, these are actual real estate agents, right? These are my actual dream clients who are over here commenting, essentially glazing me for making this video. And the reason was I did it differently. The way that I structured this video was a value first approach. Now, what do I mean by value? There's a couple different aspects to this video, and I'll break that down in a second here. But one of the most important ones was the fact that I actually showed the sauce. And what I mean by that was I actually showed the ads that we run, the funnels that we run, the qualification system. I even gave a teaser to them on how to set it up as well, right? So when you actually show, instead of just tell, right? That is where you get people so bought in and so confident in not just your system, but also you as a person. I've literally had countless real estate agents get on sales calls with me, essentially telling me, yeah, you were the only one who actually like showed your system, actually pulled behind the curtains, right, to your internals. Most agency owners, they'll just talk a bunch of fluff, right? And that's either one of two reasons. One is they just don't have a good product, so they have to gatekeep it behind a curtain. And the other one is even if they do have a good product, right, or maybe this is the reason why, they have a good product, but they don't want to give away too much. Right? They don't want people to steal their system, right? Whether that may be their clients, like in my case, real estate agents, or other agency owners, right? They don't want to get funnel hacked. And the problem with that is if you do that and you gatekeep all the value and the sauce in your system, then prospects aren't going to view you as different than everyone else. In all honesty, you just look the same as everyone else, talk, right? But how do they know it actually works? And that is what causes a huge decrease in show rates and close rates and just overall trust, right? Because these people, they don't trust you. And why don't they trust you? Because they haven't been nurtured enough to trust you, right? And nurturing is not talking a bunch of fluff, but it's actually providing value, right? And showing, not telling. So before I get into the actual like structure of the video, because I could go very in depth into that, let me first break down how this actually made me $100,000, right? Because you might be wondering, okay, well, if it wasn't from YouTube AdSense, right? How did you make this money? Well, it was a mix of a couple of things. Increase in show rates, increase in close rates, and also direct organic sales. Okay, so let me explain. This video, I distributed everywhere possible to get it in front of prospects' eyes. I essentially, like, if you're a real estate agent and you're gonna book a call with me, right, to learn about our services, You are watching this video. I will force it in front of you. And the different methods of distribution, by the way, that I leveraged were the following. So for distribution, I put this video both on the thank you page of my funnel, right? I ran ads, had this video on the thank you page. On top of that, emails, both to new leads and booked calls. If someone becomes a new lead, I send them to this video to then get them to get bought in and then ultimately take the leap of faith and book a call. And also, if someone does book a call, I want them to see this video to get them pre-sold before our sales call. Now, on top of that, I had retargeting ads, and this was actually on Facebook, so not YouTube. How these worked essentially, very simply put, was I had ad on Meta to the video on YouTube. And by the way, right, this was a traffic campaign optimized for clicks, right? Retargeting. Okay. So yeah, I also ran retargeting ads, right, which were traffic campaigns optimized for clicks, right? And it was a meta ad, essentially selling people on watching the video, and then would direct them to YouTube. And keep in mind, this was a retargeting ad for anyone who hit my funnel, right? Who hit my pixel, who engaged with my Instagram page, who booked a call, new leads, absolutely everyone. I want to get this video in front of them. And on top of that, right, to push it even more, this video was also available on YouTube organically. So essentially, if anyone would go and look up my name, right, James Nieves or Visionize Marketing, my YouTube channel, and in particular, this video would be one of the first things that popped up, right? So once again, getting it in front of their faces. And then lastly, we also had AI agents. Now, these agents essentially followed up with people via SMS, and they did two main things. Number one, confirm the call, and then push them to watch the video. And it would confirm that they watched the video, right? Keep in mind, there is a lot of emphasis on watching this video. And it's because I know, because I have back-end attribution, I know that this, getting someone to watch that main VSL increases show rates and close rates drastically. I'm talking a difference between 50 to 70% differences when you take a look at, okay, someone who's consumed it or hasn't. So just to sum it up, those distribution channels of the thank you page, email, retargeting ads, YouTube organic, and also the AI agents sending the video via SMS, that is what all led to an increase of show rates and close rates to where I've been able to attribute over $80,000 in sales due to this increase in show rate and close rate from this video specifically. And then the other 20,000, once again, this is attributed. In all honesty, this video has definitely made a lot more than 100. But when it comes to being attributed, right, direct organic sales. And this has correlated in over $20,000, right? And this is strictly organic, meaning these were not prospects who came from ads. These were not prospects who got emailed. This was not anything like that. These were people who found this video on YouTube, which is crazy to think about considering how niche of a subject is lead generation for real estate agents, right? And that said, most of you don't realize, but your prospects are on YouTube. Just about everyone is on YouTube. I think YouTube has like 2 billion users, something like that. But whether you're working with a med spa, whether you're working with contractors, whether that's remodeling, roofers, whoever you're working with, they're on YouTube. And if you make content that is nichely focused on their specific pain points or desires, right, which in my case, real estate agents, one of the biggest problems with their overall acquisition is lead quality, right? Lead quality is one of the biggest complaints, biggest objections you hear, biggest problems they've had with other things. So I made a video addressing that specifically to where of these 3.8K views, a lot of it was traffic that was funneled to this video from the various distribution channels. However, a big chunk of these views are completely organic. And keep in mind, I did not have any following, any crazy subscriber, personal brand, anything like that. In all honesty, this was actually the first video that I posted on a brand new channel, which even to this day only has roughly 260, maybe 300 subscribers, right? So by hosting this VSL on YouTube and actually making it valuable, right? People actually tend to watch the video, and then that pushes it out to more. They tend to engage, right? Like it, comment, share it because it's so valuable. And that causes it to now get more organic eyeballs from your ideal clients, which then, by having a link in the description, are able to go and book a call, right? And by the way, the close rates on people who come from organic are upwards of 70, sometimes even 80%. It is absolutely crazy, to the point where I've had some people who, after watching that one video, come to the sales call and treat me almost like a celebrity. Like, they're surprised that I'm the one on the call and I don't have a giant 20-person team. And that sort of framing gave me so much status in their mind, to where the only thing that they could do is just buy. And once again, from organic sales alone, from that video with only 3,000 views, I got $20,000 from clients who would have never found me if it wasn't for that video. So now a lot of you are probably wondering, okay, James, that's great. How can I replicate this, right? How can I actually make one of these YouTube VSLs for myself? And I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what I'm going to be breaking down. Now, first thing to keep in mind, just from a principle standpoint, the entire purpose of this VSL is to get prospects sold on the following: your unique mechanism and you. If prospects don't trust you, they'll never buy from you. And if they don't think that your unique mechanism or your specific process or system will work for them, then they'll also not buy. They need to be sold and bought in on both your process and also yourself as an individual. Now, you do this one, right, by actually providing value. And you do this one by a couple things. You need to position your unique mechanism as the solution to their biggest problems, and also simultaneously the explanation of why they failed before. Now, just to break that down, first things first, the solution to their biggest problems, right? This is where you're going to want to take any sort of feedback or industry knowledge, or most importantly, right, what you hear on sales calls when you dive into pain and what's not working, right? What's the biggest problem that they're facing? And that's where you want to really focus on. So in my case, right, working with real estate agents, the number one problem, complaint, issue is always lead quality, right? Every single Facebook ad agency that they work with, they're able to get them hundreds of leads, but then the problem is all the leads suck and they can't convert any, right? So lead flow isn't really an issue. It's more so the actual quality. And from here, right, this is where you now want to focus your unique mechanism strictly as the solution to lead quality, right? The little golden star. I guess it's black, but there's that aspect of it, right? And then on top of that, because they've heard everything before, right? Especially if you're in a saturated niche, real estate is probably one of the biggest saturated agency niches. So that said, if you're in a saturated niche, you want to also very, very much emphasize why they failed before, right? Because they've heard all the unique systems and they've heard all the fancy schmancy Facebook ads systems and this and that, right? So like, why are you any different, right? And why did they fail before? You want to essentially justify their failures, right? To where you're essentially taking the blame for failing and putting it not on, for example, like Facebook ads, right? But putting the blame that they didn't have the right system before. And the person running their Facebook ads was the reason why they failed, right? Because they had the wrong system. Now, keep in mind, I actually recommend watching the video and taking notes on how I actually did this, because it'll give you a really good perspective actually watching it from the perspective of the client. But just to break it down, very simply put, I showed them the old way versus the new way. And essentially, the old way was everything else that they've tried. So this is where I would show them that, yeah, you've tried other ads agencies, and what they would do is run a generic Facebook ad, right, to a auto-filled lead form, which is just name, email, number, right? And that's it. Maybe they have some text automations, but like, this is it. And the ad, by the way, is generic. So generic ad, no qualification. And that's why all of their pain points would be caused, right? And then here, I actually went in and gave a ton of examples of things that they've heard before, right? That's why you get, oh yeah, I'm not interested. I'm just browsing. Oh, I wasn't expecting a call from you. Low quality leads, low intent, right? I actually went and emphasized everything wrong with this, right? The leads don't know who you are, right? All of this stuff, to where they really, like, at this point when they're watching this video, they really are like, oh, this guy gets me. That's exactly every other agency. I've heard all of those things before. The agency was running ads just like that, right? And now they're like, okay, James actually understands, right? And then I showed them the new way, to where now they're like, oh, this is different. And this, in my example, was my double qualification system. And how this essentially worked was with a personalized ad, right? So personalized, don't mind the giant chunky text. Don't mind the spelling, don't mind the handwriting. But it was essentially a personalized ad, right? Which would send them to then a disqualification form, where then I broke down what conditional logic was, right? And actually showed them it in action and how to actually do it, right? So I showed them our disqualification form, the questions that we asked, right? How we actually disqualify. And then we would take them to a qualification survey, right? So this is anywhere between like 6 to 8 questions, which are all very, very, like, it's a super in-depth survey, right? This is hosted on a landing page. And then I would show them a pre-call video, right? Which is essentially a VSL to get their leads pre-sold on them, right? And also prevent things like, oh, who are you? Why are you calling me? And then lastly was AI/a booking page to actually get appointments, right? So now my system, the new way of doing things, not only does it get them bought in on the new system, but on top of that, it is directly correlated to solving every single pain point that they have. So for reference, the personalized ad solves the pain point of, oh yeah, these people have no clue who I am, or they don't know that they're opting in to speak with a realtor, right? Like the generic Facebook ads. But this, since their face is on the ad, now people actually know what they're opting into. And then from there, right, lead quality, oh, these people don't have intent, they're looking 12 plus months out, whatever it may be. That gets solved with conditional logic and the disqualification form, where we disqualify all the tire kickers. That way, you're not getting a bunch of fluff coming through to your CRM, right? Solves lead quality. Then we go even further on lead quality, because once again, lead quality was the biggest pain point. So we double hammer it here. And this is where I show our qualification landing page with anywhere between 6 to 8 questions that only 20 to 25% of leads would actually fill out, but those are what we call really hot leads. And then you have all the information on them, like their home preference, price point, pre-approval status, credit score, everything of the sort, right? To just double emphasize lead quality. And then we have the VSL, which then touches once again on who are you, why are you calling me, right? A lot of leads, when they come from a lead form, because it's very low intent, you tap your finger twice, right? You have no clue who you're opting in for. You get a lot of who are you, why are you calling me? The VSL, right? And when I essentially spoke about the VSL, I mentioned that the VSL has 4 main purposes. Number 1, to introduce yourself, right? The realtor. Number 2 is to set the expectation so that if they expect a call from you. Number 3, explain why you're calling, right? That way they actually have a reason to pick up the phone. And then number 4 is direct them to book a call, right? And then underneath that VSL is essentially a calendar or booking page, right? And if they don't book from the actual calendar, we then have AI agents reach out to them to then book a call, right? So this literally solves all of their pain points and also simultaneously destroys the old way, right? To where now, after someone sees this, not only are you perceived as such an authoritative person within your industry for understanding all of this, right? You're literally speaking to their soul, not just their pain points, but also what they tried, right? And also all the little steps of your system, which are literal solutions to all of their problems. But on top of that, you're eliminating every other alternative solution that isn't your system, because this is unique, right? It's not just, yeah, we run Facebook ads. It's we use the double qualification system, right? Which is a 5-step process to get high quality leads and appointments by using disqualification, VSLs, personalized ads, right? A qualification landing page, AI agents, a VSL, all of the above. And this is what leads to prospects showing up higher, closing at higher rates, and just being so bought in to where after watching this video, they come to the sales call so warm, you would burn your finger if you touched them. Now, that said, first things first, I do want to commend you. If you have made it this far into the video, congratulations on not being a dopamine addicted monkey, right? I know this may not be the sexiest video, but if you actually apply what I've gone over and what I'm about to go over, you will make so much more money within your agency, not just from organic sales, but also the increase in show rates, close rates, trust, and you'll just notice a difference on your sales calls to where prospects actually are bought in. They're actually sold on you. They're not bombarding you. Hey, I need to talk to a client. I need to think about it, right? You're not going to hear that anymore because they're so bought in. Because if you actually do this right, they will feel like your system is the only system that will work for them. And now, last but not least, let's actually break down the structure of this video, right? And keep in mind, this can be as little as 10 minutes long and as long as 30 minutes, even maybe an hour. But as a sweet spot, 10 to 20 minutes is a solid length for this video. And how we actually go about making this, right? I recommend, by the way, use a Miro board or something of this sort, something that's visual. It definitely helps a lot. But in regards to the actual video structure, first things first is going to be the intro. And this is where you essentially set the frame of what they're going to be learning in this video. And once again, watch the actual video, right? Watch my video for reference on my real estate channel to actually see how I do this. Essentially, how I structure the intro is just prefacing what we're going to be covering in the video and also teasing them a little bit to stay till the end, right? Then we move on to the old way, right? And this is essentially where you are throwing rocks and closing doors, right? Now, what I mean by this, right? Throwing rocks and closing doors, you're essentially throwing rocks at the competitors, at the other agencies that they've tried, at the other lead gen companies, whether that's Angie's List, Zillow, whatever it may be, right? You're throwing rocks at them and you're now on their side. What I mean by that, right, is every single real estate agent, they dog most Facebook ad agencies, right? Because most Facebook ad agencies, in all honesty, they don't have a dialed in system to get great results. So because of that, they're always like, yeah, all you Facebook ad agencies, right? You're all the same. You're all low lead quality, bunch of junk volume, right? They're throwing rocks at it. But now when you come on their side and you say, I understand your pain, right? And you're throwing rocks at them. Yeah, most Facebook ad agencies suck. The lead quality is low. The leads are saying this and that, right? You're now on their side and they also feel like you understand them. And then closing doors essentially means that you're shutting out alternatives, right? To where when you do this right, they will feel like your system is the only system that will work for them. And you'll never hear things like, oh, I need to go talk to another company, right? The only reason why someone would ever entertain another company, right? Or if they were to, let's say, want to explore other options, or, yeah, I was looking at Zillow and this and this and this, right? Is because those doors are open. So essentially here, you want to show them why everything else essentially sucks, right? Why it all doesn't work. And then go into the new way, which is essentially your system. But this is where you then show them your unique mechanism. Now, how you go about pre-handling objections is essentially by listing out all of the most common objections that you hear on your sales calls, right, from your ideal clients. And this is where you address all of them, right? Don't save it for the sales call. Don't save it for afterwards. You want to handle them here. So for reference, will this work in my market? Do I need a ton of money to dump into ads? How long does it take to see results? Team, what if I'm a solopreneur? All of these questions, right? And obviously you want to customize this to your actual niche. This is where you address them, because now when they come to the sales call, right, instead of bringing these up as objections, or instead of them not booking or canceling their appointment, right? And keep in mind, I've had so many times, right, before I installed this video into my agency, where I would have someone randomly cancel an appointment. I would reach out to find out why. And they're like, yeah, it's just, I realized I'm a new agent. This is probably going to be too expensive. It probably doesn't work. I probably need more experience. And yeah, so I canceled my appointment, right? When in reality, it's like, that's not the case. This works for any type of agents, right? It's also not extremely expensive, 30 bucks a day in ad spend, 50 bucks a day in ad spend, to where someone who has a couple grand saved up could run our system, which means, right, that person, if there was a video or a section in the video pre-handling that objection, she would have kept her appointment on the calendar and could have closed for 3K. Now, lastly, after you go through the pre-handling objections stage, you then want to wrap up with a call to action. And how you want to structure this call to action, there's many ways to go about it, but my favorite is called the 2 choices close. Now, how this works is essentially by giving them two choices. Choice number one is the unfavorable one, and that is essentially to do it themselves, right? And here you don't just want to say, yeah, you could go and do it yourself. You want to really extrapolate what that looks like, right? You can go take this video, try to piece things together, right? Spend weeks or months testing, thousands of dollars in wasted ad spend trying to piece this together. Or option number two is if you're actually serious about growing your business and positive label them a little bit, then you can essentially work with us, aka book a call. That way we can do it. And then here you want to really extrapolate what that looks like. We'll not only create the ads and the strategy and the double qualification system and the funnels and set up the AI and have everything integrated and constantly split test and do X, Y, Z. Really, really emphasize everything that goes into the system, kind of like a recap, but literally like dig on every little thing, like spit out 10 different things, right? That's just like overwhelming almost to them, to where they're like, oh my goodness, I can't do that myself. To do this and this and this and this and this, copywriting, hooks, integration, all this stuff, right? To where they feel like the only logical choice is to then work with you, right? And essentially book a call. Another little tip for this is also to reduce pressure, right? And also add scarcity. Now, how you go about this, right, is reducing pressure is super simple. You just want to make it clear that this isn't a high pressure sales call, right? And frame it as more so a game plan call, strategy call, right? Whatever you want to call it, to where essentially you and the prospect will sit down and strategize how you can implement this within to their business. And on top of that, see if they qualify, right? This is where you add the scarcity, right? And you're also reducing pressure because it's like you may not qualify. We don't take on everybody. We take on a limited amount of people each month. And on top of that, what I like to do is add area exclusivity, right? That's really good scarcity to where it's like, okay, no pressure. We'll see if your area is taken. We'll see if you qualify, right? We'll see if it's a fit. If not, no worries. Worst case scenario, right? You always want to make very clear the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, if they book a call, is they leave with a clearer game plan and extra value. That's the worst case. Best case is that there's actual room for a partnership, right? And it works on both ends, and then you make them a ton of money, right? That is how you go about that call to action, to where now organic viewers who stumble upon this video, whether that's a contractor, real estate agent, med spa, whatever it is, right? When they now see this video, they'll get taken through all the different stages, from the intro, the frame, the old way, the new way, right? You're throwing rocks, closing doors, you're pre-handling objections, and then making a super no-brainer call to action, to where now the only option that they have is just to book a call. Right? The only logical thing in their mind that they could do is to book a call, and not only that, buy your product, because everything else doesn't work, because you've positioned yourself as an authority within your space and also spoke to their pain points, got on their side, then got them bought in on your system where you actually provide value. Once again, don't be afraid to actually give sauce. Don't be afraid of funnel hackers. Don't be afraid of them taking it and doing it themselves. Once again, I literally show our funnels, our ads, absolutely everything. And that builds so much trust in their mind to where they trust in you, and then also they trust in your system. When you hit them with that call to action, all they can do is then book a call. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.